So we come to the thrilling conclusion of the meditations, Meditation 6. Not easy reading. It actually gets harder as it goes along, I think, because the problems become harder, and the kind of arguments that Descartes has to come up with to solve the problems, they get more complicated, they get more oblique, they get less direct. There's something very simple about doubt, and there's something very simple about Descartes' idea about what he cannot doubt, his own existence. And these things are firm things that we can hold on to. They're simple to think about. Now, the kind of arguments about the existence of material things, by the time we get to Meditation 6, and this obscure relationship between the existence of material things and our knowledge of that, and the existence of God, it gets pretty complicated, it gets pretty obscure. Let's have an idea of where we're going, not only with Meditation 6, but with the whole of the meditations. You may have heard this expression, dualism, and it will become important, and it's very important in modern philosophy. Dualism is a metaphysical thesis, and it's the one that Descartes is usually charged with having created or advocated, and that is, dualism is twoism. Dual, two. Two what? Two basic forms of substance or basic modes of being. The mental on the one hand and the physical on the other. So dualism is the metaphysical thesis that there are two basic kinds of thing in the world. Mental things, thoughts, ideas, minds, and on the other hand, physical or material things, bodies and all their qualities that we see around us in nature, physical or material things, and that these are two very basic different forms of substance. And by the end of the meditations, in a way, Descartes has already established his own existence as a mind, and he has, to some extent, established the existence of material substance too. So you may say that he has solved the problem, or he has recovered at least his common sense view of the world, that he existed, and that he had thoughts and sensations and perceptions that were subjective or mental, and that moreover he had a body that was put him in touch with the world of physical things, and that's good that he's able to philosophically recover that common sense view. But it also sets up certain problems, and gives you a clue as to why the existence of God is so important to the meditations. What's the problem? The problem is that on the one hand we have mental substance, on the other hand we have physical substance, existing side by side in the universe somehow, but with a very unclear idea of how they could possibly relate to each other. How could a physical substance and a mental substance relate to each other? Well, maybe they couldn't at all, because they're two very different forms of being, and there's nothing similar about them. But of course, knowledge, if we take knowledge to be a subjective phenomenon, that is a state of mind, in some way or another, an event in the mind, if that's what knowledge is, then knowledge of physical things becomes problematic, because we have this problem of how can mental substance, my mind, and its different modes, my ideas, my thinking, my reasoning, how can they be in touch with the physical substance? So on the one hand, it's not problematic that I know my own thoughts, or even that I know ideal entities like the concepts of mathematics or even philosophy. Those things, if they are ideal things, they are the kind of things that I would be expected to be able to know, since in a way I am an ideal thing, or I'm a mental thing, a thinking thing. What becomes really problematic is how we know the banal, trivial, mundane physical objects that surround us, that our gut feeling is that we know maybe best of all, or at least we're most familiar with. If it's a physical thing, how can I know it? Because I know it only through ideas. So the Descartes dualism is a kind of worldview, and it solves certain problems, but it also creates them. But that's sort of where we're going. That is, what Descartes really wants to establish at the end of the day is that material things exist, and that turns out to be